as soon as I did that, you'll remember it flipped around and we got the tower again, as if to confirm, yeah, the tower is still a theme. And then shuffled more, and out came the devil, which told me that it's the devilish aspects in our society. It's the areas in which the dark has taken over. It's the areas in which there's been real imbalance and suffering and bondage of people, of the collective, people in the collective, because of these power structures, because of the inequalities, because of the manipulations of systems and structures, and anybody authoritarian, people even in the family unit, who have overexerted their position of power as parents, as older siblings to younger siblings. All of that, it involves this card that has been exposed by the tower coming out. It's exposed the workings of the devil, and the imbalances. And then we had the Nine of Pentacles. And the Nine of Pentacles represents independence and sovereignty that's come about as a result of sacrifice and discipline, to learn and to sacrifice, to learn how to live a balanced life, how to live a life that draws on the wisdom of the spiritual wisdom, being communion with God, being communion with spirit, take oneself away from ego-led action and behavior, and commune and get into alignment with spirit, and to heed the lessons of these trees represent pillars of wisdom. In the tarot cards, you'll get pillars on either side in many of the cards, and they represent pillars of wisdom. So the wisdom that can be gained from communion with spirit, and the vision and the sight that can be gained from soaring above and looking down on things, and having that overall sight, rather than ego-led sight, which is what this comes to. So this was the second card of the actual spread that didn't fall out, that I picked and I cut and picked. So this is about clinging on and holding on to material gain, onto greed. It's about being stubborn. It's about fear of letting go. And when you're so scared of letting go, this happens. When you hold on too much to what's not yours, this ends up happening eventually. The pressure builds and builds and builds, and then the top comes flying off. King loses his crown, and all the aspects to do with the devil that have been ruling the roost and keeping the power structures in place that haven't served people and that are not in balance, end up being exposed by the devil. So so the context of this sovereignty is the removal of this stubbornness of holding on to things. It also, though, having said that, this card has two meanings. It's got the meaning of holding on greedily to power, to possessions, to resources. So that would refer to, for example, the gas companies that are making massive profits, yet still charging extortionate amounts of money, and causing people to have to pay more and more in these times of hard, different crisis of living, basically, crisis of living that is globally going on. Yet these gas companies, electricity companies, are making massive profits. So that's one example of this. What can I say? The other example is governments not distributing the resources and the money to the social needs of the people, but to using the money to fund wars, which create further money for them because they can sell the arms and the weaponry, using it to all manner of things that do not serve the people. So this card and this card and this card all tie in with each other. But then the other meaning of this card is communion and connection with divine source. Grounding, drawing up with the feet, the chakras of the feet, the energies of the earth crystal, bringing down the divine energies from the spiritual through the crown chakra. And this is the glowing, and the place where it meets is the heart chakra. And the heart is an electromagnetic, or it's an organ that has an electromagnetic field around it. And that electromagnetic field gives out a signal. And it is what is where we alchemize things in our life. It's where we create what we want for ourselves in our life. It's where we find ourselves in alignment with our flow, with our mind, body, spirit flow, where synchronicities happen, where things flow for us in life. So this is something like when I meditate, bring it down through my crown chakra, bring it up through my feet, and meet it in the middle, and really build that second sun that we all have in us, that is our heart, that shines out into the world, and that has a positive impact on others around us, and also acts as our antennae to receive information. So this card here is about spiritual evolution, the meditating and connecting and coming in alignment, which is where this circumstance arises. It's what enables this to happen. It's through bringing down the energies through our crown chakra and grounding ourselves and bringing up the energies from the earth crystal that we learn the wisdom from the pillars of wisdom, those trees of wisdom. Yeah. So it's these two are connected and linked in this way. But what is really pushing through energetically for the collective now at this time is bringing about sovereignty, personal autonomy. It's about not living under the power structures of any external thing, be it not living under externally dictated power structures, basically. So and the card that came in the immediate past was the Three of Swords, which came up in the reading before the last reading. So I find this so interesting because there's continuities with the cards over this last week. So yes, in the immediate past, the result of the Tower and the result of the bondage of the devil, codependency, structures and systems that create codependency, that make people feel chained to poverty, make people feel chained to behavioral expectations, make people not be free to live an fully autonomous life, but have to serve what appears to be a stronger power, brings about suffering and has brought about a lot of suffering. And we all know that. Nobody needs to tell us that. We live in a far from perfect world. And we have to strive against the difficulties in life to provide for ourselves and support ourselves and live the life we want all the time, and deal with the unhappiness within our heart that we can struggle with at times. So again, it makes this one more pertinent as well. So in healing this, it's necessary to draw down here into the crown chakra, and draw up from the feet, and really feed our energy, our heart energy. Come live from our heart chakra, feed that heart energy. Progress can only happen through healing the heart and through feeding that heart energy. And this indicates in the position of past, that this is what has prompted the need for change. And that change has come through the Chariot, the energies of the Chariot. And the Chariot is revolutionary. And again, this came up, as well as the Tower. The Chariot card came up in the reading at the weekend. And that's continuing. But whereas the Chariot at the weekend was in the advisory position, which was advising that it's needing the Chariot energies to push this through, this Chariot was in the center of the present reading, and it was in the position that describes the conditions that have created what we're talking about. So it is indeed a divine pushing through and download of energies and spiritual energies to create change. This is the mini wheel of fortune. These are like yin yang signs. And another example of yin yang signs: within all dark is light, and within all light hides dark, and you can't escape that. And it's about balancing the light and the dark. And what we've had is an out of balance darkness, energies, dark energies, abusive energies. We've had that so out of balance that it required the Tower card to blast it out and make it seen. It's made this seen. We can see what we're dealing with. So when it's in the news about the energy companies making record profits, whilst we know that we've been people have been living in more and more poverty in order to feed those profits, and feeling terrorized economically, because they don't feel they're going to be able to afford to pay for everything that is required to live. This is the energies of the dark. So in order to put these in balance, it's been necessary for us to have the energies of the Chariot from the divine source, and that has come down and it has blasted the lid off the tower, which in turn has created a lot of distress for a lot of people. For those who were relying on being in their positions of power, high up in their tower, up in the high echelons of power, away from the ordinary people, feeling safe, it's now exposed them, it's now created a lot of distress for them. But the thing about this one, this Nine of Swords, is that it's faulty thoughts that have created this suffering. The swords, when they're horizontal in the tarot cards, represent untruths. And you can't push a system and live a life that is based on untruths forever. At some point, the Tower card happens in our lives, either on a small level personally, when we've been kidding ourselves, when we've been living too much via our ego, we're not being connected with our heart and our integrity, or with the power structures and the conditions that governments and corporations and big business monopolies put into a society that then us as ordinary people have to position ourselves and orient ourselves around and survive. So this represents the distress now of those who have been ejected from the tower, of these people who've come crumbling down, crashing down, of those people whose lives have been turned upside down, literally, because whatever, either in their personal life at home or in their work scenario or in their in the world at large, with the big corporations, with the governments, with the, like I've said before, with the energy companies, when they're rumbled and when they realise that the game is up and that they had the torch shone on them, they can't carry on like that anymore. It causes distress. But this distress, like I said, is born of faulty thoughts, of stubborn, rigid, faulty thinking. And it's where the value system and the thoughts are aligned to the ego in an unhealthy way, rigid ego, proud ego that's too proud, that refuses to see, and has refused to see the error of its ways for so long that it then ended up having to have this tower moment to it. So this is all suffering that happens through deluded thought, through not being able to see the truth. So then it creates anxieties, paranoias, dread, mental health issues, collectively and individually. But if we would only let go of our mind, if we would only let go of our ego and go into our heart and see and feel the world, or more importantly through our heart, and connect with our integrity that lives in our heart, we would do that as a result of connecting with spiritual truths. Now, if you see on here, the bedspread has got roses on it. And roses are symbols of secret knowledge, of hidden knowledge, of spiritual knowledge, of Hermetic knowledge, of Rosicrucian knowledge. But all this is not confined to secret societies or to Rosicrucian Hermetic spiritual learning and all of that. It's not confined to whether you become spiritual or not. Where it lies is in the heart of everybody, and if we enter our heart, we become privy to the information contained. And this is where, and it's hidden from us when we're in our head. When we're all in our head and we let our thoughts run away with themselves, or we are so cut off from our heart that, for example, politicians and governments, leaders that are despotic, CEOs of energy companies who cream millions and billions and take so much in profits and bonuses and so on, they're not connected to their heart. They're all in their head and their ego. So the suffering comes from being in the painful space of the ego and the sharp, obsessive thoughts. Yet it is possible to bring an end. Nines are endings, and nines represent the ending of a cycle. It is possible to bring an end to that and access that knowledge, spiritual knowledge that's been symbolized by the rose. So the outcome is this. The outcome is massive distress and crises, but it has to be like that. And I really feel, looking at these cards, because we've got the Page of Pentacles and we've got the King of Pentacles, and I really feel that looking at these cards, what has happened in the last few days is a crisis for men. It's for the divine masculine. Women have been in this position spiritually for a long time. Women have been working on themselves for a long time, have been connecting with their hearts, have been connecting with their inner child, have been healing their inner child, have been healing their traumas, and have been learning how to rise above patriarchal society and remove themselves from patriarchal systems and live in within, make a stand for their personal autonomy and live in a self-reliant, less codependent manner. But the divine masculine has catching up to do, and this last few days, the energies of the Chariot and the Tower have blown the lid off and really exposed the need for boys to become men. I hate to say it, and it's not said as a criticism or as a man-hating thing, but in terms of spiritual evolutionary development, the divine masculine has a lot of catching up to do. But then this is all in balance with how it's meant to be, and it's all as a result of the demands that society has placed on men and women and the different roles that men and women have. So it's not to say this with any sense of superiority as a woman. I don't mean it in that way whatsoever. But we help each other. So women go ahead of the men and help the men come forward. The men go ahead of the women, help the women come forward. Women go ahead of the men, help the men come forward. And it's like this. And then eventually it'll balance out and we'll walk side by side. And true autonomy and divine feminine, divine masculine partnerships will exist. And that will make the world a much better place. And this energetically is what's needing to happen. And it is happening. So the advice of this spread starts with the Page of Pentacles, and then the next card is the Seven of Swords. So the Page of Pentacles is the student of the pages, student of the trump cards. The trump cards are the page, queens, knights, and kings. And this Page of Pentacles, it's like he's got the opportunity at the tips of his fingers. This situation with the Tower card, exposing systems that need bringing down, exposing all of the imbalance of power structures, has given us an opportunity, given the men an opportunity to go from being boys to growing and learning and healing and becoming men, kings, to go from being a page to a king. So this King of Pentacles is the second card that came up when I asked for clarification cards. So this spread involves after the identifying the context and the conditions to which things have happened and the outcome. I asked for 2 advisory cards. It's a Kachina spread. I asked for 2 advisory cards, and then I asked for 2 clarification cards to sum it all up. So the clarification cards that came up are the Hierophant and the King of Pentacles. The Hierophant came first. So the Hierophant is the teacher of the Tarot pack, is the Major Arcana teacher. And so it represents spiritual leadership. You see, this is the Pope, basically, isn't it? And the cardinals and the bishops and so on. So it's like the Catholic Church and the hierarchy of the Catholic Church, spiritual leadership has been used for the tarot, this Rider-Waite tarot design. So, but it's not. We're not just talking about church leaders, and we're not just talking about the Pope. That's just a big example at large for spiritual leadership. And within that is our own spiritual leadership. How do we lead ourselves? How do we connect with our own authority and personal autonomy spiritually? How do we, and it's also a card to do with values. What are our values? Where do our values come from? And how do we hold fast to our values? So if the men as pages who have been rocked by the Tower and are in this position can take this opportunity, this is the opportunity card as well, can take this opportunity and not revert back to what this card represents, which is strategy and rash thinking, rash behaviour. And, you know, it's this deceit and stealing power, stealing what's not given, stealing what was out of balance, being entitled, taking the ungiven, that has caused the Tower to explode and reveal the devilish energies that were locked into the Tower and that were representing all those on a microcosmic individual level and a macrocosmic societal systemic level, that were representing the abuse of power. If the Page of Pentacles in every man who has been affected by this and is in this position now, and every organisation, and anybody and everybody affected by this Tower card in their personal lives and lives at large, if they can take the opportunity that this gives and be prepared to be a student again, the Page is the student of the Tower cards, prepared to be a student again and learn the lessons, the spiritual lessons of this situation, and connect with their own spiritual leadership and reorient their value system and bring their value system in line with their personal spiritual authority within themselves and what's true to them, what lies in their heart, what they can find in their heart to heal the broken heart. Then the boys, as they are now, will become men, will become kings. And we need the kings. We need them to become kings. You know, you've seen so many, it's a joke, it becomes a joke, but so many mothers feel like their husband is another child in the family. And I'm saying this guardedly and carefully. I don't want to point any fingers, but, you know, it happens like that. Society is set up. It has men have not been served. in society. Men have not been encouraged to cry when they feel it as boys. It's getting better now, but there's a massive legacy of tough love and uh, necessity for men to not acknowledge their emotions. And what that does is creates disturbance and faulty power structures within them, which they then exert outside into the public domain, in corporations, in companies, in the style of leadership in governments, and in the family home as well. It's the same. It's all the same, just microcosmic and macrocosmic versions of each other. And women also do collude with that as well. Those women who haven't done the healing on themselves, those women who haven't connected with their divine feminine, become toxic masculine, display toxic masculinity as well, actually. So we're talking about all that stands in the way of sovereignty, integrity, and a lack of codependency and an independence. And when you're independent, you don't need people to follow your rules. You don't need people to exist underneath an abuse system that you may be exerting as a government, as an energy company, as a corporation, or as a parent in a family. It goes from the microcosmic to the macrocosmic level. So if the Hierophant as a teacher, if the lessons of the Hierophant, that deeper spiritual learning and growth and knowledge can be learnt, then the boys will become men. And when the boys will become men, the divine masculine will rise. And now's the time. You've got divine support here. Now is the time. Now is the right time for the divine masculine to rise, for men to heal their wounds, and for the divine masculine to rise. So that is the energies at the moment. Divine masculine, rising of the divine masculine, healing of the divine masculine. Boys need to become men, and they will become men if they learn the lessons. And once they become men, this king is somebody who's in the tarot pack, is the last card in the whole of the deck, tarot deck. So that's the final arrival point. Nowhere else to go after that. Okay. And just as a character, not as a character so much as an archetype, the King of Pentacles represents, if I'm doing a reading with somebody and they get the King of Pentacles in their reading, I know that we're talking about somebody in their life who's at the top of their game professionally, either as a businessman or as the head of a corporation, not necessarily a corporation, head of a business, owns their own business, or has got a management position high up in a position of authority with knowledge. Somebody who may have retired now, who'd had a long, successful life in the workplace, or who ran their own business. It's businessman, to be honest, or somebody who's high up in another person's business, and who has the wealth, who has the funds, who's earned it, who's worked hard for it, and who's able to sit and receive people and be there with advice and guidance. And this is the divine masculine. This is what we want. This is what women want out of their men. To have that sense of equality. And there isn't equality, really isn't equality. There's inequality on both sides. But now the energies are for men to step up to the plate. So this shows the potential for it as well. This shows the actuality for it. So this is the ideal. This is the actuality. This is the reality. And behind her are grapes on grapevines, but they're still on the vines. But on the king, I don't know if you can see, his cloak is made up. It has the pictures of printed grapes. The cloak is decorated with the print of grapes. That's the fabric material, has grapes on it. So what that represents, basically, the grapes are there to represent the sweetness of life. Sweetness of life doesn't necessarily come with a click of a finger. The sweetness of life comes with a certain amount of discipline, a certain amount of sacrifice, a certain amount of dedication, a certain amount of patience, and it takes time for those grapes to become fine wine. But by the time the page has taken the opportunity and learnt the lessons he needs to learn, he matures, just like those grapes on here mature to become fine wine. So then in that position, the divine masculine, once he goes from boy to divine masculine and real male adult man, those grapes, he can wear those grapes. He owns those grapes. He's earned those grapes. He's worked for those grapes. He's sacrificed for them. He's learnt the lessons. He's taken on the lessons. He's taken on a level of spiritual leadership for his own evolution, his own divine evolution. So those grapes on him have become wine, fine wine. But it's not a quick overnight thing. It's a gradual, slow, steady process. So yeah, it's a time for the divine masculine and for men to step up to the plate and for men to take that challenge to heal their childhood wounds and to become the divine masculine, to walk side by side with the women, the divine feminine, and for there to be balance. This card represents balance. At the end of the day, the energies of life, it's just down to nature, male and female. The male plants, female plants. Pollination has to occur to create more of the same plants. And it's the same with us. We're male, we're female. There's no in between. You're either male or you're female. And that creates polarities. And those polarities, when there isn't a middle way, when they don't meet in the middle, creates distress, which is what's gone on. And so many of our problems in this world are because of the clash between male and female, the imbalances between male and female, the systems of patriarchy that have imposed, the removal of matriarchal systems in many of our societies, not all of them. The world's a big place, but the world at large, the world system is based on a patriarchal system, and that has to go. That has to go. On a microcosmic level in the home and on a macrocosmic level within the system of our society. So I hope that has been interesting to you, and I'd be really, really interested as to whether in your personal lives or in what you've identified happening in the news at large, if there's anything that's I've said from these last two readings that rings a bell with you and resonates, because I'm seeing a thread developing here and it's fascinating. I can't wait to do the next one in a couple of days' time and see what the energies are saying. But yeah, I'll say it again. I've said it before and I'll say it again. It's time for the men to step up to the plate. Divine masculine, it's your time now. Heal those wounds. Heal those childhood wounds. Learn what true power is. Learn what true balance and equality is. And become that King of Pentacles, where all the resources you need will be there. You'll have earned them. You'll have worked for them. You'll have gained them. The boys need to become men. And I'll leave it there. If you've enjoyed this video, I've forgotten to say this on all the other ones, but if you've enjoyed this video, please press like. And please subscribe to my channel. And then I'll see you on the next one. Share with anybody you want to share it with as well, please. And thank you. I'll see you soon. Bye.